So we're back in the garage again, working on a 92 Chevy Silverado. This time we're going to replace a fuel filler neck.
Back from the dead.
So these fuel filler necks, they're not too hard to change. They, yeah, I'm missing the lid. But they go out quite often in these pickup trucks because they're basically open to all the elements. You can see you got the bottom and no protection, and then you got your rusty old filler neck up there. It's just open to everything. Salt, debris, water, and then they just rust out. Connects to the inside of the bed and goes back and basically hooks to a rubber hose, goes to the tank, and that's it. So they rust out pretty quick in these pickup trucks. Not too hard to change though. So let's go ahead and we'll look at the new part we got inside. Alright, so here's the filler neck. Go ahead and show the part number here. It's kind of hard to see. It'll be the top row, FNG M-07A. You can punch that in on Google or anything and it'll bring up this item. I mean, it'll bring that up. That'll be the first thing to show up. So it makes it easy enough. I actually got this off of eBay for like 32 bucks. So not really that expensive. I mean, don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, it's not made in the US, but you know, it is what it is. On the front here, this is where your cap will connect to for where you fill your fuel. And then you can see the 3 smaller holes on those 3 different corners there. That's where it'll bolt to the side of the bed. This will be on the inside of the bed. Kinda, you can reach it from your wheel well up in that way. And then the bolts will run through. I'll show you when we actually go to install it. Then at the other end over here is your barbed end where the rubber hose comes from the tank and then basically slips over that, and you just run a hose clamp over it and holds it on. That's all there is to that. Then you'll have another hose, but it'll be smaller, and it'll run through this little loop. It comes from the tank, but it'll go through this loop, and it's got a rubber grommet so it doesn't damage the hose. And then it goes into this piece, which is a barbed fitting, and you'll have a hose clamp for that too to hold that on. And then you've got your ground wire. Connects to here, and you'll bolt it to your frame. It's just a safety precaution. I highly recommend it. And that's really all there is to it. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the old one that's on there, and then we'll put this one on. Alright, so there's the filler neck that we're going to replace. It's pretty rusty. There's the hose that connects to the side there. You can see the hose clamp that holds it on. And then there's the hose that's on the back, the hose clamp that holds it on. The hose, actually, you can kind of see where it goes into the tank. The hose looks like it's in good shape. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty dirty. The end's mushroomed a little bit, but it's doable. Just clamp it down real tight. If it starts to leak, we'll trim it back and then do it again. But I'm not too worried about that. But obviously, this piece is definitely what's causing the leak. And so first thing I want to do is, sorry about that cable there hanging low. I want to disconnect the hose clamp back here, pull the hose off. Same thing with the one on the side. Then you can see these 3 star fittings up here, down here, then over here. Those will take a T30 bit to take those out. That'll cause this whole plastic housing inside here to come off with the hose filler neck. And once you get that off and the whole neck out of there, you can kind of see, it's a little dark, but you can see this screw here, there's one here, and there's one back here as well. Those you'll use a small socket wrench with, and the size is a metric 7, and then basically put it all back together, put it all up on the same way you took it off, and that's really it. So I'm gonna get this swapped out and we'll take a look at the finished product. Alright, so we got the old filler neck off. As you can see, it's very rusted. When it was on there, it sat like this. Top section's very rusted. I imagine that's probably where mud and salt debris and stuff was sitting and just kind of sat up there. The bottom's not quite as bad, but when I was watching it leak when you fill it up, I knew it was coming from the top. So I'm trying to light on the top up here, and inside there you can see that little pinhole. So when you'd fill it up, it was just coming out of the top, seeping down around the sides. And that's really all it's doing. It's just when you fill it up, but it's just going to get worse and worse, so might as well replace it. And I mean, that's what you're looking at there, the difference of them. So we're going to go ahead and take a look underneath there and show you what it looks like with those off. So you can see where it connects on the bottom goes to your tank, and then this is just the vent hose, which will go to the side. So I actually took this whole the whole housing off here, the whole plastic thing, and there's just 3 screws that holds the housing on, and then there's 3 screws that holds on the filler neck to the housing. Just makes it easier having that hole there, so you can kind of reach in and help get the hose off and everything, because it is kind of a pain, because they're rusted. They've been on there a while, so you got to twist and this and that. You don't want to damage the hoses. You might need to replace them depending on your situation, but let's get this all plugged in, screwed in, and take a look at it. Alright, so we got the whole the new filler neck on, and got everything all screwed back on. Just connected this on here. Put on a new clamp here and a new clamp back here. The old ones were so corroded that we actually had to cut them off, which I'll show you the way I took those off without causing any damage to the hoses, so that you can reuse the hoses. Now up here, there's actually a loop where you're supposed to run your vent piping through. Now, I didn't really want to mess with taking off this clamp up here because, well, I didn't want to get into a whole nother mess of that and risk damaging the that rusty vent tube. I'll deal with it when it goes out, but for right now we'll leave it. And you can't really get that hose through the through this piece here, too big. So what I did was I just went ahead and got some rubber hose, slid it down the middle, and ran it across the top of this. That way this tube would be against rubber instead of the metal outsiding of this ring, just to keep it protected, rubbing against it and whatnot. And this safety ground wire, I do recommend that. What I did was I had a small hole up here, so I just got a little bit bigger screw or bolt, and then just tapped into it and just ran it right there. I run it to the bed or the frame. Frames preferably, but the bed's bolted to the frame, so I just went with that. So everything cleaned up real nice, everything's tightened down, and we're good to go. But let me show you how I ended up cutting the old hose clamps off of there. So you gotta be careful not to damage the hose or cause any damage to anything else. The first one, the vent one, was the smaller one, and I couldn't get to the side of this, so you can see where I just slowly nicked away at it, a little bit on each side there. Try to get one of the parts where you got that opening in the middle, because you can kind of see how there's the slashes there, the way it screws together and everything. So I just did a little bit on one end, a little bit on the other end, until it finally went. You might nick the hose a little bit, but just try to keep it minute. Now, my preferably way to take care of it is to just go right in the side of this. Just gash the side of it, and that'll loosen the whole clamp up, and then it'll just pop loose, because then, you know, it won't go in there. It'll just slide out. That's the best way to do it. That way you're not damaging the hose like you would with this one. But if you do this, just be careful. And try to keep the sparks to a minimum, obviously. You're messing with fuel. And, you know, that shit can be dangerous. So, just be really, really careful on that. But if you have any questions, leave me a comment. I'll answer it the best I can. If you'd like to see some more videos, just subscribe, and we'll keep them coming. Thanks for watching.